Ready.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will now open the public hearing for the regular meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals. The date is Thursday, October the 13th. The time is 6 p.m. We'll call the meeting to order. If we could have a roll call.
Mr. Stone?
Here.
Mr. Brumfield? Here. Mr. Yeaman?
Here.
Ms. Deering?
Here.
Mr. Craddock?
Here.
Mr. Merricks?
Here.
Mr. Easley?
Whoa.
Here. We'd like to welcome Mr. Yeaman back. We've been missing him. It's good to have him back among us. If you all would, if you'd please stand for a moment of silence as we ask for guidance, and then remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Back this thing up a little bit here. You have before you the agenda for the meeting tonight. If it looks to be in order, if someone would make a motion to approve it.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approval of the agenda, make it known by voting. Okay. Motion is adopted. You have in your packet the minutes of the previous meeting of September the 12th. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes?
I move that be approved as presented.
Got a motion by Mr. Merricks to approve,
I'll second.
and a second by Mr. Craddock. All those approving the minutes as written, please make it known. Waiting for me. All right, thank you. Any old business?
Just to remind you all, we will be having the joint work session Tuesday the 18th at 2 p.m. in this room to begin reviewing proposed changes from the Berkeley Group to the zoning ordinance. So this will be the first of 7 bi-monthly meetings. They'll all be at 2 p.m. Every other month before the Board of Supervisors meeting on their meeting date in this room. So just to let you know, don't forget that we do have that next week.
Okay, thank you. Any new business?
You will have one case next month, but that's it.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. I have no chairman's report. Ladies and gentlemen, pursuant to Article 5, Division 7 of the Pennsylvania County Zoning Ordinance, we, the Board of Zoning Appeals, have been empowered to hear and decide specific applications and appeals in support of said ordinance. In accomplishing this important task, we are charged with promoting the health, safety, and general welfare of the citizens of Pennsylvania County. We must ensure that all our decisions and recommendations be directed to these goals and that each be consistent with the environment, the comprehensive plan, and in the best interest of Pennsylvania County, its citizens, and its posterity. Anyone here to speak to the board other than the applicant regarding zoning cases will be limited to 3 minutes. All right. Okay. The time is now 6:04. We'll open the public hearing on case S-22-020, Old Dominion Agricultural Foundation. Ms. Ragsdale.
Case S-22-020, Old Dominion Agricultural Foundation Incorporated has petitioned for a special use permit on 20.71 acres located on U.S. Highway 29 in the Bannister Election District for a private recreational facility event venue. On September 6, 2022, the Planning Commission recommended by an 8-0 vote with no opposition that the special use permit be granted. The staff summary is enclosed in the board packet. Mr. Chairman, I do not believe that there's a representative from ODAC here, but I will be happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Okay, as the Board of Zoning Appeals, we've got a couple of options. We can hear the case and let it stand on its own with Ms. Ragsdale answering any questions we may have, or we can postpone the case till another time. What's the pleasure of the board?
I move that we move forward.
Second.
Any objections to that we go forward? Very well, we'll do that then. So there's no one here from the applicant to speak. Is there anyone here signed up to speak?
No, there's not.
No one here signed up to speak. Is there anyone here that would like to speak on the case? All right. Then we will, the time is now 6:06. We'll close case S-22-020 and go into a committee of the whole. Comments?
Well, I think Old Dominion they have been a real asset to the county. It gives us places to hold venues, and I think it's would be a very positive influence for the county.
Ms. Ragsdale, they've been holding private events since they opened. Is that correct?
So they are considered an arena. So they are zoned appropriately for their agricultural events and events that they hold themselves. But even larger events that they hold in that area from outside organizations that they partner with. But they have been renting smaller rooms for private parties. And so that is technically a different use. It is not covered under the arena use. So they were sent a violation letter back in July notifying them that they did need a special use permit for that. And so they immediately submitted an application. And so it is before you tonight to allow them to continue that.
So what we're doing is bringing them into compliance with something that's been ongoing.
That's correct.
I think a positive motion would be in line.
Okay. Any other questions or comments before I read a motion? Okay, I'll read a positive motion. Whereas Old Dominion Agricultural Foundation Incorporated has petitioned the Board of Zoning Appeals for a special use permit for a private recreational facility, event venue, and whereas we find no substantial detriment to adjacent property, that the character of the zoning district will not be changed thereby, and that such use will be in harmony with the purpose and intent of the ordinance, I move the special use permit be granted.
So moved.
Mr. Merrick's moved.
A second.
Got a second. Mr. Brumfield. We've got a motion and a second. All those in favor of a positive motion, please make it known. Okay. We've got a unanimous vote. Thank you all. All right. Before we move into the next case, I need to read this. Pursuant to Virginia Code 2-2-3115, I declare that I have a personal interest in case S-22-021 Hopewell Solar LLC, as I own real property located at 1908 Pleasant Gap Drive. I believe that this personal interest disqualifies me from participating in case S-22-021 and therefore I recuse myself from it. So, Mr. Merckx will ably take over and take care of the case.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe we have a statement from,
Mr. Chairman, do you mind if I'd also like to read a statement? Pursuant to the Virginia Code, I declare that I have a personal interest in the case 22S22021 Hopewell Solar LLC, and I own real property located at 1933 Pleasant Gap Drive. I believe this personal interest disqualifies me for the participation in the case S22-021, and therefore I recuse myself from the case. Thank you.
he needs to step down too, right? He needs to step down.
Step down.
All right, the time is 6:11. We'll open case 20S22-021 Hopewell Solar LLC. Ms. Ragsdale.
Case S-22-021 Hopewell Solar LLC has petitioned for a special use permit on 2,578.49 acres located on State Road 834 Hopewell Road, State Road 718 Dry Fork Road, State Road 1044 Beach Nut Road, State Road 1099 Hilton Lane, and State Road 772 Daniel Court in the Tunstall Election District and the Chatham-Blair's Election District for a utility-scale solar energy facility. On September 6, 2022, the Planning Commission recommended by a 7-0 vote with opposition that the petitioner's request be granted with the conditions submitted by staff and one additional condition recommended by the applicant that is in your board packet. The staff summary is enclosed in the board packet. Mr. Chairman, Tony Dyerly is here to represent the petition.
All right. All right, Tony. Good to see you.
Good to see you again. Get this up just a little bit here. All right, thank you, gentlemen, and the rest of the board. Really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you guys tonight. We have a small presentation that we'd like to show you guys, and then after that, please, we'd love to have any questions that you guys might have. Before I get into the details of the project, I just want to take a second to introduce SunTribe Development and the project team. As some of you already know, SunTribe is a Virginia-based company out of Charlottesville, Virginia, basically in the backyard, and I don't want you to think for a second that we take that lightly. The fact that Pittsylvania County is somewhat of a neighbor of ours, we plan to keep that in mind at all times. We are very much looking forward to working with staff and this board to bring a community-focused project to the community that will provide major benefits for years to come. The county's transition to renewable energy, domestic supply of energy, where we'll be farming the energy of the sun for years to come. Project team, as you guys can see, let me see if this will, there we go. As you guys can see, we brought some of our project team here today. In addition to the project team you see on this slide, we brought Lauren Weller from Timmins Energy Group and, Kyle West from Vega Renewables. And just in case you guys have any questions, I want to make sure you guys can make an informed decision going forward. You know, I mentioned that we were from Charlottesville. I also wanted to point out that I personally am from Roanoke, and outside of my time in the military, I've lived in Southwest Virginia almost my whole entire life. So this area, this part of the state is really important to me personally. Project overview, just really quickly. As you can see, this project is up to 149 megawatts along both Hopewell. Emily already mentioned all the roads that it includes, but you'll see that it includes Hopewell and then Dry Fork Road. The majority of the project is going to be south of Dry Fork Road, where the transmission lines will go up into a remote area that's north of that. We're excited about one aspect of this project is that we've got just over about 2,100 acres under site control. And that's important because of those 2,100 acres, we're only going to be using approximately 900 acres for actual parcels, or the panel, excuse me. That's less than 50%. We've put ourselves in a position where we've got enough land that we've been able to go to landowners, adjacent landowners, project participants, and make concessions to restrict this thing down. So we've got over 600 acres on this project that we're going to be able to leave for wildlife corridors, vegetative buffering, and again, some of those concessions that we made to some other landowners. Just a couple financials that make this a unique project here in Pennsylvania County. I know that there's some other projects that have gotten into siting agreements, but this one is unique in particular. As you can see, back in December of last year, we agreed to a siting agreement with the Board of Supervisors. So I'll break it down here in a second, but as you can see on this slide, over the life of this project, this is going to bring over $12 million to the county. That is definitely something that we're really excited to be able to be a part of. And breaking that down, that $12 million, just a little bit, $750,000 is going to be issued at building permit. So you guys are going to be realizing this cash pretty soon in the project. And then at commercial operations, you'll notice that there's an additional $1.5 million that will be added to the county in revenue. And all in all, the last part I wanted to point out is the 9.9. That is, well, it's not technically revenue share, but it's additional payments that you guys will be getting annually every year, totaling 9.9. So, as all together, you guys are looking at about, or excuse me, gentlemen and of the board, you guys are looking at about $12 million for this project. Next slide, buffering and setbacks. So historically, Pennsylvania County has learned from previous projects, and they've implemented a pretty robust buffering and setback system. And this project will adhere to all of those aspects of the ordinance. And in many cases, after working through community engagement and community meetings, we've actually increased those buffers and setbacks in many cases. Next slide, environmental and wildlife. Obviously, us being a solar company, this is an important aspect for us and me personally. I wouldn't say luckily, but I mean, we've definitely we're in a good situation with this project, and the fact that there are several distinct wildlife corridors that are already in place that we're not going to touch. That is something that it's rare when you can come across that, but that's something that we're going to be able to do, and we commit to continue to do that. With all the existing vegetation that we have surrounding the projects, mature trees, existing vegetation, et cetera, we will not be changing those things, and then in instances where that is not present, we'll make sure to implement that in line with the ordinance that I spoke about earlier. The goal of this project is now, and it has always been, to make it concealed as much as possible. And I think that our work with, again, just through community involvement and what we've been trying to accomplish, I think we've done a really, really good job of doing that. We've had some planning commission members. Some of you have actually had a chance to go out and take a look at the site, and I feel confident that we've done a good job, and we'll continue to do that, working with staff as we move forward. Lastly, we still have, after we do local permitting, we will be going through the PBR process, permit by rule. The state, I'm sure you guys are familiar with it with some of the other projects that have come through, but that'll be the next stage of this project. With that, my project engineer, John Marrier, will take over and talk about the next couple slides a little bit more engineering specific.
Good evening. So this project is going to be connected to the 138 kV AP transmission line. The project substation serves to aggregate the power from our distinct arrays and step it up to transmission voltage. From there, it will go to the utility switch yard, where it will be injected into the grid. That utility switch yard and the substation, those facilities are financed by the project and only serve the project, but the utility switch yard will be owned and operated by the transmission operator, as it's a piece of the grid at that point. So as far as erosion and sediment control and stormwater, as a Virginia company, we're very in tune with the requirements both through the county and through the DEQ. Before we break ground, there'll be those permits in place, approved by the county and approved by the DEQ. Those permits dictate not only the engineered features that control runoff, but also dictate construction sequence, stabilization, seeding, prompt seeding, as well as regular inspections, including after storm events. The objective of all these measures is to limit the flow off the site and to slowly discharge the water that's captured to protect the environment and release it in a similar manner as it's currently flowing off the site. For access, we're proposing numerous access points on either side of Hopewell Road that will provide access for maintenance and construction. Prior to breaking ground, again, we'll have a construction management plan submitted to the zoning administrator that will detail temporary traffic control measures as well as access in further detail. In working with the zoning administrator, we're also committed to working with local fire and rescue to ensure that they're familiar with all of our internal access roads and any emergency protocols for construction or post-construction. Turn it back over to Tony. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, John. Kind of wrapping this up a little bit, couple more slides. So construction, operation, and decommissioning, obviously very important aspects of the project. We're expecting construction on this project to take 12 to 18 months. We hear you. We've worked with the Planning Commission and staff and the traffic and everything during construction. We will engage in a traffic management plan that will go through the site plan process and site plan review process. So I want to make sure we stay on top of that. Of course, well, during the decommissioning phase of the project, before we do the decommissioning, we will set up a bond to make sure that it's financed at the time that this has reached the end of its life. During operations, you guys aren't really looking at anything that's going to be too audible on the project, and then traffic will, of course, be limited significantly at that point. And then wrapping up, key takeaways for this particular project. As you guys have already mentioned a couple times, this project's going to generate over $12 million to direct revenue to the Pittsylvania County, with some of that, almost $2 million being realized fairly early in the project. We've done extensive community engagements. We've increased setbacks, increased buffers wherever we possibly could. And I think that we've done a really good job there to present a model project for Pittsylvania County. Last really big point that I want to bring up is that we've designed this project again with over 2,100 acres of site control, whereas only roughly 900 acres will actually have panels on it. And that's basically what we have this evening. Thank you so much for your time. We'd love to take any questions that you guys might have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Do you have any questions? Anyone have any questions? Tony, who's going to own the farm, the solar farm? Is it,
One more time.
who's going to own it?
Who's actually going to own it? Well, that's the process that we're involved in now, getting off-takers. Dominion is someone that's definitely interested in the project, but this is a very attractive project to companies like Dominion or other third parties. So once you get past local permitting, that's where they start coming pretty quickly.
Okay.
Yeah, but I would reiterate, this is a very attractive project to those folks. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. Do we have anyone signed up?
We do not.
We do not. We do not. Woo. All right. Anyone in the audience want to speak on behalf of this permit? We'll close the hearing at 6:24. All right. Any discussion from the group?
me, it sounds like that it would be very beneficial to me, it sounds like it'd be very beneficial to the county and also to the farmers. You know, most of these farmers I know of them, most of it's in tobacco, what it crops are there, and we know that's kind of a dying crop, so this is a way of them being able to hold on to their farms and all, so I think that I would be in favor of a positive motion.
Any other comment? Sounds like a positive motion is needed. This positive motion, and it has 18 conditions with an additional condition, amendment to condition 15, giving an extra year to complete. Is that right?
It's 19 conditions, and then the start of construction, which is number 15, they asked for that additional
Okay.
language to be added to that.
So you all are familiar with the conditions and all, and no problem with any of those? Okay. All right. I'll read a positive motion. Whereas Hopewell Solar LLC has petitioned the Board of Zoning Appeals for a special use permit for a solar facility, and whereas we find no substantial detriment to adjacent property, that the character of the zoning district will not be changed thereby, and that such use will be in harmony with the purpose, intent of the ordinance, I move that the special use permit be granted with the following conditions listed in the packet, 19 conditions, and the amendment to condition 15. Do I hear a motion?
I so move.
So moved, Ms. Deering. Well, Carol's already moved it. You want to second it, Ms. Deering? You hit second. Did you hit second? Hit second.
Oh, want me to second?
Yeah, he's already moved it. All right, we have a motion and a second. Just cast your vote. What happens with these other two?
They'll show as absent.
Okay. They're real absent. Yeah.
This is not something that happens very regularly.
I know. I can hit abstain right here if you want me to. But
She can fix it.
oh, approved. Congratulations. Any other business? Then this meeting is adjourned.